What's going on, everybody? Ryan Ogren here with MoneyMake Marketing, and today we're going through our Apollo.io list building strategy. If you're running cold email, or if you're business development and you're just scraping lists constantly, or you're actually using Apollo.io to prospect, this is for you. I'm going to save you a ton of time, walk you through the workflow that works for us. This is a workflow that we've used for our clients, and we closed $3.55 million in collected revenue for our clients in 2025. So I know this works, and it works for us. It's not probably the most perfect strategy in the world, but it's very lucrative, and it's going to work for you as well. So without further ado, let's get into it. All right, so when you first show up to Apollo, you're gonna come onto this screen. Let me just make sure my cursor is working. Okay, there we go. And I also got some tea, so hold on. So you're gonna be on Apollo.io, and you don't need a paid plan. I'm actually gonna do this on a free account just to show you. We do have a paid plan. We have a bunch of credits, but I don't think you necessarily need that depending on what you have as an Apollo scraper. But I don't condone anything that can get me in trouble. So anyways, free Apollo account. Essentially what we do, we actually don't ever really go into company. We stick in the people list. So I just go right into the people tab. I don't use any other tab here on Apollo. I can tell you that right now, okay? So I don't use any other tab here on Apollo whatsoever. So let me just clear all so these filters are all empty. So essentially we're in a people filter, and there's these three tabs up here, which is total, net new, and saved. You can see we have 313,000 accounts saved out of 238 million. That was a hefty lift to actually save those accounts. But anyways, essentially what we're gonna do is build a list, and I'm gonna walk you through and just weed out all the BS that you don't need and just get you right to the good stuff, the meat and potatoes of how you're gonna be able to build a list. And 99% of what you need to do is with this strategy, okay? So the very first thing you wanna do, I don't even touch list, I don't even touch persona. I go right to email status and I just click verify. So what this means is it's giving us emails that are already verified. Like these are actual, we have a chance to reach out to them and it to be the right one. Any of these other ones just really screws you up. I like to actually leave this on, include all catch-all emails, but these, if you have these checked or if you don't have this checked, all these come together, and that just gives Apollo an excuse to just like totally destroy your credit. In my opinion, just make sure you have the verified on the email status. That's very useful, very valuable, okay? Then I go to job titles, and I actually will do the job titles last just to make sure that my keywords are close, but this is another one that we're gonna be using here in a second. You can skip over it for now. I'll explain why, but you can just start with your job title. And if you do, and actually let me just do it in my format. So we'll come back to job titles. Not saying we're not gonna use it, but we'll just come back to it. We're gonna be coming down to company next. All right, so essentially what I do, if you have a list of, if you're really just trying to find decision makers at a handful of companies, just go and look them up here. Just type it in, whatever company you're trying to look up, and just look them up. If it's 500 or so companies, what I would do is go and get an AI to get all of their email domains and then include the list of domains here. It's all you have to do is include, exclude list of companies, include here, okay? Let's say you've already scraped a list. Let's say you have a do not contact list, like a customer list or whatever. Put that exclude list in here and then do save and search and click on, make sure you click on those, and it'll adjust your filters, okay? Now I think you can do this for 10,000. Let me see. You can do these for 10,000 each. So if you have 10,000 companies that you really want to go after, usually you can find websites for that amount of companies. You can just throw them in here. If you have less than 10,000, you can exclude these. So pretty much I would say if you know that and you have that list of companies and they're all qualified and you know they're a good fit, just use this. Very simple process and can work wonders for you. I'm not sure what just happened here. Hold on while we reload. That's weird. It's not showing it on the camera here. There we go. All right, so now we're back on track. So anyways, that's what we would do for company, okay? So if you're going after and you have 10,000 or less company domains and they're handy, or you can probably get them relatively easily, like having an AI just go look up those companies, that's awesome, and it'll work like a charm, okay? So that's a really good way to do it. 10,000 companies, it's pretty decent size. It's not totally crazy. It depends on the kind of prospecting you're doing. Our clients, like we can pretty much just load in 10,000 major companies that we're going after. And then essentially what we can do is just then layer in the job titles, and then we have a clean list pretty easily. Sometimes what we'll do is we'll use an AI agent to actually go out, get all the websites of the companies that we want to go after. Once we have that, then we'll just upload them into this, and then it'll be a really clean list, okay? So if you're going after a larger than 10,000 companies, what I do now is I actually come down to location. I always actually make sure you just put this in. So United States is a good one. Make sure it's just your target market. And you can do zip codes if you really want to, but I really don't. I just use the United States. Depends on where you're targeting though. Number of employees, you can just come down here and do custom range. In fact, I find that is the most useful. But if it's broad and you're not really sure, just select whatever you think is close enough. Okay, so that's very important, the employee range, because you don't want to be, if you're targeting Fortune 500s, you don't want to be talking to people in the 1 to 10 range, right? It's going to be really bad. So take your time on that, and I'll go back and go over some 2.0 strategies for this here in a second. The real jujitsu on this list building strategy comes from the industry and keywords tab. All right, so I almost never use the actual industries in Apollo. They're wrong. They're too big and they're wrong. Anybody that's good at outreach, anybody that has an actual legitimate strategy that's worth a damn, probably does not use these industry filters. And if they do, they use them just to filter out a lot of other crap. I really don't even touch it. And the reason being is these company keyword filters are getting way better. All right. Now, what is a company keyword filter? So the company keyword filters, there's multiple different types of keywords. There's name, keywords, and company description. So I'll just identify those for you. So there's the name of the company. So this is the company name. So this is very helpful to know. If we wanted to go after like dental offices, for instance, we know that in their company name is going to be dental, right? We can just uncheck keywords, put dental in here, and then it'll just pull all companies that have dental in the name. All right, so that's the first piece. Then when you also check keywords, now go over here, okay? So you have your company industry, which is very broad, not useful at all. And you have your company keywords. And most of the time, companies that have a lot of accounts on Apollo usually have 100 or so keywords. And that's very useful because they have so many different little keywords that we can build a very descriptive list of and keywords where they need to have this keyword and this keyword for them to be qualified, and then build a really clean list based off of that alone. The company keyword list, it's very good. Now, I won't really use the company description keyword, and the reason being, it pulls awkward areas. All right, so I'll show you here. These are the company keywords, which are good. And then if I go and click on In Tempo Health, so this is like the actual description. We provide meeting advocacy, new opportunities for consumer health data space. So I don't really know what that means from like a keyword standpoint. I don't know if that's gonna pull different things into it. It's usually gonna dirty up your list. Now, depends on if you're gonna qualify and verify your list after this. If you're gonna use Clay, like I'm going to recommend you do, then just check it. Doesn't hurt you, right? Better to have a bigger list than a smaller list, okay? So those are the three that we actually use. Remember, only check the company description one if you're going to qualify and verify it with Clay afterwards, and I'll walk you through how to do this here in a second. So now, everything I just told you, undo it. Okay, so uncheck include keywords, and then we're going to check include all keywords. I don't know what just happened. I think it froze again. Hold on. All right, cool. So there we go. Come back to industry and keywords, go down to include keywords, uncheck that, and we're going to include all keywords. Okay. So if you guys have been following me, or you're subscribed to me, or you watch other videos of me list building on LinkedIn Sales Navigator, you know that we like to use Booleans. We use a Boolean string for a lot of different things. There's or, which means it could be this or that, and it'll return, it'll show up in the list. Or you can use and, which means it has to have this keyword and this keyword in it for it to return, okay? And then there's not, and not means it can't have any of these keywords in it, okay? So in Apollo, you have that is just built in for basic people. If you're watching this, you might be basic, but they just did this so it was like confusing for a lot of people to not know. They were like trying to make it easy to use, and they made it harder to use. Anyways, so include keywords is the or. So if you just put a keyword in here, let's say I want turmeric tea, and I also want it to be a retail shop. That would be, I could do turmeric tea, and then I could also have retail in there. Now, those keywords means if I put it in the or category, this top one, uncheck this one, this top one, it's gonna give me a list of companies that have the turmeric tea keyword, but also companies that just have the retail keyword. So my list is going to be very broad and very scattered, because there's going to be like, it's not even going to be targeted. Now, if I want to make a very targeted list on that, I want a tea shop that sells turmeric tea retail, then I will type in turmeric tea in the include all keywords category, and I will put turmeric tea and retail, and it's only going to show up companies that have both of those keywords. So that is very useful, because now we have a way more succinct list. And this include all categories, fantastic. So what you can do is go just click on a little Apollo button up here. I like to do control, click on it, so it opens up in a new tab. Look up and go into the companies tab here, right here, and just look up a couple target accounts of the companies that you want to go after. and go look at the keywords that they have. You'll see 2 or 3 that all of them have. And they're very, like, a lot of not qualified companies just don't have, okay? And I like to think through what keywords does my target market have that my unqualified target market does not, okay? So put all those into the include all keywords, and you're gonna be money, okay? So then you have a very clean list. If there's some that are sneaking in, this is where you would just use the exclude keywords. I also like to add in, usually we're scraping Apollo will actually exclude staffing, recruiting, event services. Sometimes they just sneak into these industries, just remove them. So that's a way to clean like a very clean list right then and there. So that's something that we do that a lot of people don't. Remember, include all is probably your best bet on this for the most part. Okay. Now, market segments, SIC, AI filters, buying intent, literally all these other filters, we just don't even touch. The last one that we do is company keyword. And so now I'm going to go back up to job titles. So here's the thing. Depends on if you're going to qualify this list or not. I like to leave it more broad and then use Clay afterwards. So for you guys that don't know what Clay is, I'll just pull it up while that's loading. So you can actually just leave this open. So essentially what I'll just pull a bunch of very broad job titles. I'm not trying to build the most tight targeted list anymore. I'll actually pull like a very big, broad list where that's directionally correct. So if we're going after a business development team or like a marketing team, I'll literally just type in business development marketing. And then when I have those keywords, everybody from these companies are in that. So it's a huge list. Okay, let me just reload this. I don't know what just keeps happening with Apollo. That's the other thing with Apollo. It's not really that quick of an interface. All right, so job titles. Once again, it depends on if you're going to go to Clay afterwards. I can just grab this one. Let me see. Yeah, there's something in here. There's people in here. Okay. Now, so anyways, I go like for functionality and I'll just type in a broad job filter and then pull that list. Now, if you're not going to use Clay after this, then you have to be very tight with this. And so in Apollo, if you do not use quotation marks, you are shooting yourself in the foot. So always use quotation marks for every single job title if you are not going to qualify it afterwards. So if you're looking for the CEO, obviously you can see how I just did that CEO. And then you could just uncheck that. So anybody that has a similar job title gets like this not included, and you'll see that it really tightens things up. Now, the job titles that you want, I would go through and ask ChatGPT or Manus. If you're one of us, then I've been telling you to use Manus. And I would ask them what job titles at what company sizes are the decision makers for X, okay? And the reason this is so important, your job titles and your decision makers are not going to be the same ones at a company that's 200 employees and in a company that is 5,000 employees. For some reason, this is lost on every single lead gen agency that's out there. I don't know why, but this is like a very important thing. So if I reach out to the marketing manager, let's just say the head of marketing at a 200 person company, they have to do a ton of stuff. They are literally the decision maker for pretty much every business development, revenue driving initiative. If I go to the head of marketing for like a 2,000 person company, they might be managing one social media profile. They might actually do that. So it's a very different process. And then the business development is like for the 2,000 person companies headed by the business development team. So the functions change with the company size, and it works for specialty departments too. So just keep that in mind. And I actually like to prompt AI to do this. And so then you'll find 50 to 500 employees, there's usually this, and then 200, like 500 to 1,000 is usually this. What I like to do is give it a little overlap and then use those particular job titles that I'm going after. So that's essentially how we do that. We layer them in, and then you could just do different scrapes after that, okay? And then also excluding job titles is great. For Apollo, I won't use a Boolean search. So essentially what you would do is you would put them in here, and you could just say, where is it? I guess, is it here? I guess maybe you don't get it on the free plan. But anyways, you don't really need a Boolean search. We don't actually use it in Apollo anyways. We actually believe it returns bad leads in Apollo. And also they give you a really short, so you have to scrape a bunch of things for it to make sense. So that's that. And then, yeah, you can use exclude, and that's essentially all the filters that you need. So just to recap, I come into people, email status verified, job titles, I just use quotations. I actually will go very broad, and I'll just put a directional unquotation marked keyword for the department that I want, because it'll capture everybody in it. And then I'll exclude some job titles, maybe if it's really bad, but then I'll usually just upload the entire domain list of all the companies that we want to go after. If it's 10,000 or less, if it's more, then use the industry keywords. Make sure the location is set, obviously, and then use your industry keywords. Industry keywords, your best bet is gonna be include all keywords and pick multiple keywords that you know your specific companies that you're going after, have both of those keywords. Don't really use include keyword side. that just pulls in so much crap. All right. So think, what combination of these keywords do these companies have? Not what keyword does this company have that this other company doesn't. You'll find that these companies have more combinations than anything else, and it gets you a little bit more specific. That's the breakthrough. And then exclude keywords, you can obviously exclude a bunch of them. And then for job titles and employee size, let me just reload this because it is lagging again. For number of employees, it ties together with job titles. So go to GPT or whatever AI that you actually use and go through and ask it, who are the decision makers, companies of this headcount for this particular thing, whatever you're selling, whatever you're reaching out to them. And you'll find that the job titles will jump around and it'll give you ranges. Put those ranges in here, give it a little overlap, scrape that list, and just do separate lists on those. And that is essentially how you do it. Now, if you scrape broad like we do, where we get the qualified company, but we just scrape everyone in the company, then you know you're gonna need to actually use Clay to get it verified. So essentially what we do, then after we scrape it, I'm not gonna walk you through what we use to scrape it. There's so many Apollo like scrapers out there where you can just take the URL of the list you built. You can literally just take the URL of this page, upload it to the scraper, costs you like whatever amount, and you get it a couple hour or a couple days later. So then once you have it, I like to actually run it through this Clay table. Essentially what we do, we just upload it to the Clay table. Clay's awesome. You got to know how to use it though. And this isn't going to be a Clay tutorial. But essentially what I do now is I add columns, and I have the best way that we figured out to qualify for a company if they're the right fit is by going to the company LinkedIn page and scraping the description on the company LinkedIn page. I know there's guys out there that say you got to go and scrape the website. The company LinkedIn description is always more accurate in my eyes. That's what they actually had to put in the company LinkedIn description. The Apollo description of the companies is not the LinkedIn description. So I don't know where the Apollo description comes from, but it's not the LinkedIn description. LinkedIn description, company description is usually like pretty spot on for the company, depending on the company size. We usually deal with larger companies, so that's why I'm saying that. If you have smaller companies and you're unsure, you can obviously send the Clay agent to the website, and I'll do a full video on how we do that. But I essentially add the column and I use AI, then I just use the prompts. So I scrape the company description for the company qualification, and then I'll actually go through and I'll take all the job titles of each lead. And so all of the qualified companies, I go through each of the leads, and then I have it say, is this lead a good decision maker with this job title for this particular offer? And I upload the offer that we're going to send them, and usually it says yes or no, and then I have my qualified companies, qualified job titles, and then I know exactly who I need to go after. Okay, so that's essentially how we do our list building for Apollo. And then you obviously verify your emails after that. So after you get all of those people that are qualified and their qualified company, qualified job title, go through, verify their emails with we use Reune email verifier. That's one that we just used over the years. It's good enough. You can use Million Verifier. It's good enough. These email verification tools are just good. They're okay. You're still going to be sending crap. Like, they never stop everything. People have tried to like double verify and all this, that, and the other. Nothing really works that great. Just keep an eye on your inbox reputation and just always have other inboxes warming up, and you'll never be screwed. So then after that, you verify it. There's going to be companies that were qualified and qualified job titles, and they're bad emails. Take those emails, go in and enrich them. Use Find Email or ICPs, enrich those. Now you get 100% shots on goal to make sure that you guys get, well, maybe ICPs or Find Email doesn't find it, but you'll still get more shots on goal for that. So that's essentially how we do our Apollo and Clay list building. I'll do a Clay walkthrough on how we do it, but that's like really the thing that you need to know, the bare bones of what you need to do for Apollo. And I hope that helps you. And if it did, make sure you like, comment, subscribe if you enjoyed this video. I know my voice is a little hoarse. I just got some new tea. That thing's potent, so it's messing me up a little bit. But anyways, hope you guys enjoyed it. Comment, subscribe. Ryan Ogren, MoneyMake Marketing. See ya.